So, this is going to be an amazing episode about Tim Ferriss and productivity. I'm going to see you after the intro. It's going to be cool, it's going to be great, it's going to be hopefully valuable. But yeah. I really hope that it is going to be there. Like, I can't promise. I don't know. But I hope. I really, truly hope. And with that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And it might be slightly different. It might be slightly maybe even weird that it is not dark. Because normally today on today is Tuesday, yes, I'm recording when it is quite dark, which is then something that you're going to see tomorrow because it's the episode for tomorrow. But it's not, because today is Carnival. I do hope that this is the English expression, but I don't know, or the English word. I really don't know. But I guess it is. And therefore, like our headmaster said, well, just let's leave after 2 hours, which is great, which really is great. Normally there's actually a really big thing in our school. And there is actually, last year it was insane. Last year there's been a lot of things going on, cars in the school, inside of the school, which turned out to be not such a good thing because they then had a really big bill of, I think it's been all around facility things in terms of cleaning everything, because there's also been like confetti and flour actually as well, which is not that of a nice thing to clean. And it's been really a fucked up thing. And therefore they decided no, we're not going to do this year. But it's not even a topic of this video because it is all about, that's not good. I've actually kind of deleted this other thing that I'm having on the right side, on this side actually, not on this side, but on this side. Well, yeah, the thing that I want to tell you is that I'm going to go through something slightly different today. It's going to be slightly different today in general. The thing that I'm going to go through is down in the description, and you can download it for free and you can print it and do whatever with it. There's a lot of information. It is basically like a summary of everything that I went through on Tim Ferriss and productivity. It is a summary. I've highlighted everything. You're going to have the links to the websites. There's everything in it for free. And it took me 40 minutes, 30 minutes, and you can probably have it in 10 minutes. And if you read through it, it's 5 minutes. It's nothing. And it is basically probably everything that you need. And it's probably going to be 20% of the things that make 80% of the result or of the effect or of the whatever, which is a pretty good thing and a pretty cool thing. And I enjoyed that. And I also feel better than presenting this because I know that it is something amazing. And I know that it is something good as well. So there you have the PDF. And you can also see just on the top here, it is a PDF. And this is the regular PDF that's quite always in the description. Whenever I'm going through something, when I also highlight some things, then there's going to be a PDF as this one. The date is not always correct. It's today's date, actually. And there is actually also some other design stuff. And there it is. That starts the whole thing. And I do want to explain to you how everything is structured. So normally having the title of the article in the first line of the beginning of the whole section of the different sites that I've been on, then you're going to have the link and then you're going to have the information. And you can actually also, page not found. That's amazing. It's super duper. So normally it should work. Actually, doesn't it work when I click on it? It can't be the case. I've been on the site and I've also just used the information from the site. Actually, I'm maybe also going to try to put everything down in the description. It might be working if I actually copy it. Can I copy it? Copy link address and do it like this. Maybe this is working. It seems to not be working. Let's see if it's actually working with all the other links. Because I guess it should be. Sign up for it. With this one, it's totally working. So, thanks. I'm going to open it once again. I'm sorry. And there I actually have all the things that I went through in the last few... I think it's been 3 months, actually. From December 26th to today, basically. Wait a second. There it is. But I think we're just going to go ahead because I do want to be as fast and as good and as efficient with your time, especially, as I can be. So, can I make it bigger and better and nicer and whatnot? So Elon Musk may work 100 hours per week, but Tim wanted to work no more than 4 hours, even though this is something that I think I know and also Tim knows it's not going to work every single day. For some days it might even be 1 hour, but I think in general, I don't know if it is going to be like 4 hours per day per week, which is probably going to be, because I'm also counting the weekends, because I assume that it is also going to be something for the weekends, that it's then going to be like 12 hours a week. I don't think so. I think, well, it's actually not. What's 4 times 7 is 28. So 28 hours, which is actually not that less. It is actually quite something. But in the end, it's definitely not as much as Elon Musk is doing, because he's also working 180 hours per week, which has been like his top week, as we've went through some articles, I think it's actually been December, but I don't remember. It's actually crazy because, yes, this is what Tim is believing in. Like, he doesn't really believe in being busy, but this is something else that we're going to talk about later on. No, in fact, Tim believes in the lazy manifesto, a term coined by Tim Kreider. The idea behind the manifesto is making space in your life, margin for things are good and peaceful and restful. Rather than constantly grinding and hustling, taking time to simply immerse yourself in the things of life. Whether that's hiking or chilling in a library or enjoying a movie. And I would also say so. Even though on the flip side, I do want to say, and I do want to spread that it's all about being happy. And if you understand and if you've seen that you're happy, then everything's fine. If you're working 100 hours per week, 200 hours per week, if this is even possible, yes, it quite is, but there's not going to be a lot of sleep. But you should just be happy. And if you're happy, then everything is all right. But if you're not happy with everything that you're doing, and this should not really be something that's quite a micro thing. It should be macro. It should be your overall life should be happy. Because of course, if you're just playing games all day long, you might be happy playing games all day long. But unless you're just able to make money with playing games, you're not going to be really happy financially. There's going to be a lot of downsides of that. And therefore, being, as I would say, happy in macro with everything that you're doing in your life and with how your life in general actually is I think truly the way to go. Then it actually makes sense. There is then nothing to, actually think about if you're happy. Idleness is not just a vacation, an indulgence, or a vice. It is an indispensable to the brain as vitamin D is to the body, and deprived of it, we suffer a mental affliction as disfiguring as rickets. This is actually a quote, and I would also say so. Like, we all need active rest. Not only passive rest, which we are getting through sleep and through just sleep, but we also need active rest, like doing something that we totally enjoy if it is not already our job, which is in general something that I suggest people to do. The first secret is create rituals. Tim is really big on rituals, particularly in the morning. He believes that doing these rituals prepares him for the day and allows him to win the day, or quote unquote win the day. He has 5 rituals in particular that he seeks to do every single morning. And there we have the 5. The first one is make his bed, which is something that was brought up, I think the first time, like you can never ever say like, this has been the first time quite, but I think it's been like one of the first times in a book that I've also went through. I don't remember the title though. It's a book. I know there is a book, maybe you look it up, you're probably gonna find it. But it is basically about doing something at first in the morning that's accomplishing a task. Even though it's not that of a big task, but if you're not able to do anything better than making your bed this day, you have done your bed. It's better than nothing. It's better than not doing your bed. It's better than not having done anything this day. At least you've done your bed. You've made your bed today. And this is like the thought behind it. And I do also have to say, like, it makes sense. And I do think that it is good. And I do think it is something that you could also start doing. I've actually started doing it, but then I've realized that it is not really something that's working for me. I am accomplishing quite a lot every single day. I'm trying to, because I am having my own rituals in terms of like the podcast and the posts and the articles and everything that I'm doing every single day. But doing my bed is certainly not something that's working quite well for me, because, for me, the problem is that I think it just takes way too much. I'm actually looking to my bed, if you can see it, just back there. I think it is actually something that just takes a little bit too much energy for me and out of my life. But yeah, you could just do it. I think it is a great thought. I think it is a great thing in general, but please think about it on your own. The next thing is meditate. I think it was like, let's actually look it up because I don't remember it that well. It might have been, and there it actually is. There you see like the highlights. Yes, meditate. Well, yeah, okay, there was nothing about the time he's meditating, but the interesting thing is that 80% of them used this ritual in Tools of Titans, which is one of his books, which is basically it is a book full of conversations with people that are really highly achieved or successful. Let's take successful. And he has seen that 80% of them are doing something like meditation or meditating. Even though on the flip side, I do have to say, people like Seth Godin, they're not meditating. Gary Vaynerchuk is also not meditating. And even though they're just really fucking successful and really good, like there are some upsides, but it's not going to work for everyone. And it's not going to be something that everyone is going to, first of all, willing to do. And it's basically also not going to be something that everyone wants to do. The next thing is do 5 to 10 reps of something, whether it is push-ups, whether it is squats, do something. For him, it is just some sort of a primer, which is something that Tony Robbins is doing. And he's using it as just getting things going, basically. Then he prepares some loose leaf tea, which is probably going to be mate, but it's a specific mate, but I think it's going to come up later on as well. And then he's journaling. Secret 2, focus on the 1 to 2 most important things every single day. Have an eye for the essential. They pause just long enough to decide what matters and then allow what matters to drive that day. Achievers do sooner and what others plan to do later and defer. Defer? Can't I do this? I can't actually look up words. That's quite fucked up. Well, perhaps indefinitely what others do sooner. The difference isn't in intent, but in right of way. Achievers always work from a clear sense of priority. Or at least it seems to be the case because, I totally believe in what he's talking about because he has been talking with such a lot of successful people. Person to person, but I also think, from person to person, one-on-one. And this is insane. And I would also say so, like if you're just having, and it's not about time, it's definitely about priorities. It definitely is. Use this rule if you're often overcommitted to scattered. If you're overcommitted or too scattered. If you're not saying hell yeah about saying something, say no. And I think this is something by Derek Sivers, as far as I can remember. And I have to say that it is also a really good rule. If it is not a hell yeah, then it's going to be a no. If it is not something that you're so stoked about doing, then don't do it. Because why should you and why would you? If it is not something that you really would like to do, which is also like a great way to save time and to be more productive. Since productivity is not about being busy, but about choosing the right things to do, I would say that leaving out those things that you don't think are important, so saying no to them, is like a big deal and like a big thing. These days, FOMO, which is fear of missing out, is a big thing. And yeah, it indeed is. And it is also something that bothers me quite often, actually. Nobody wants to miss the next great opportunity. But if you constantly live this way, you will end up getting involved in lots of mediocre things and not have time to do the great things. The problem with that, at least at my point of view, is that who says that it is something great? Who says that it is something that's amazing? Even though you're having the time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna do something that's great. Especially not because you think it is great. Only because you think something is great doesn't necessarily mean that it is also great for the people that are then going to consume that. Of course, putting out something that you're not quite sure of, putting out something that you don't really think is like over the top and it's not good and whatnot, it's always something that's quite difficult, because we all want to strive for perfection, which is like ludicrous and doesn't make any sense. But besides that, just because I think something is good doesn't mean that my audience, the people that are actually then consuming whatever I'm putting out, whether it is a product, a service, or just content, that they also think that it is good. Doesn't necessarily have to be the case because I have different opinions and I have different perceptions of what I'm doing. And I have also different contexts. Like I know what I've been just doing the last year long. not everybody knows that. It is just really something to think about and really something to consider and really something to keep in mind. The next article is How Task Batching Increased My Productivity Overnight. I'm Anna Wood. Well, yeah. So time batching or task batching, this is task batching. This is what this article is all about. And I think it's quite something. It's the effort it takes our brain to switch between tasks that makes us tired, stressed, and unproductive, and not the task itself. This is what she says. I don't know if it is right. It could be. And I think it also makes sense. Like, also compared to rituals and habits, if we are really into something and if we are really used to something, then we are able to do something without actually having to use a lot of energy. If I'm used to doing something in a particular order, then it is not going to take a lot of energy after a year of doing it every single day. It's not going to take a lot of effort as well. Not a lot of effort, not a lot of energy. But if I'm doing something different every single day in a different order, it is going to take some energy. Which, by the way, might also be the reasons why working out in different sequences, might be actually a pretty good idea, because your body is going to have a different kind of stress. And it is all about stress. It's all about stress when you're just trying to build muscle. Then having different sequences and having different ways of, showing your body the work that you're going to do, or just letting your body work differently in different ways, in different orders, that you're going to have a different kind of tension, a different kind of stress on your body every single day or every single time. I think it makes sense. Kind of. It could make sense. Pull out your to-do list. If you don't already have one, get it together. It is something that I always start, but it is like, yeah. Oh, by the way, I've actually not read the whole one. Yeah. That's why task batching is like therapy and meditation for your workflow. Group similar tasks logically by their function, for example, email, calls, meetings, housework, events, and location, computer, down, car. Split your day into segments and assign each task category a dedicated window of time, which is like batching. This is batching. You're going to have similar tasks and you're going to batch them together in certain time groups, which means that you're going to have 5 hours, but it's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to have 50 minutes of this and 30 minutes of that. This is also not really just making sense. But you're going to have 1 hour of email. After this 1 hour of email, you're going to have 2 hours of calls. Then you're going to have 3 hours of whatever. Sometimes, and this is, by the way, also something that Tim Ferriss talked about, he's doing it in days. One day is going to be for content. The other day is going to be for calls. The third one is going to be for advising companies, and so on and so on. So that he is actually really in the thing that he's doing. That he really just is not switching between a lot of tasks, that he's just doing this thing. So that, it makes sense. I do wonder, on the other hand, if Gary Vee is also doing something like that, since he's working constantly, like he's having so much to do. I do know, and I do think that he's just doing it in a very efficient, first of all, very efficient way, and also in a very smart way. Like, even though I kind of have a feeling that just doing things in a smart way is like a little bit overpraised, maybe. It makes sense, but once you start doing something, and once you're doing something for a dedicated period of time, whether it be an hour, well, let's just talk about a year, then you know what makes sense. Then you're going to do things in an order or in a way that's probably going to make sense for you. You're not going to, and this is truly something to think about, you're not going to do things in such a way that you're going to have more work. Even though it seems to be the case that people are doing this, since being busy and having a lot to do is something that people are just putting on a pedestal because it's something that other people like. Other people like hard work, and hard work on one hand is also something pretty good because it is a way easier factor to stimulate than productivity is. Just be a little bit more productive. Please do this. It's not as easy as just working harder and working more. It's not as easy, but on the other hand, I think there has to be some sort of a balance between working hard and being efficient because, you really kind of work hard, but you could also just do this in a very unnecessary way. And then it is like nonsensical and doesn't make really any sense. The next thing is basically from Tim blog, and therefore it is also a blog article, and you're gonna also have the link there. And it is called Productivity Tricks for the Neurotic, Manic Depressive, and Crazy Like Me. The moment that you feel that just possibly you're walking down the street naked, exposing too much of your heart and your mind and what exists on the inside, showing too much of yourself, that's the moment of you starting to get it right. Of you maybe starting to get it right. Yes, and this was the reason why he actually shared this article, because this article began, and I'm not showing this because I think it's not that necessary for what I'm doing today, that he's also not having good times all the day and all time long, even though he is accomplished, even though he's successful, even though he's quite wealthy. We all like to appear successful, which is a nebulous term at best, and the media like to portray standouts as superheroes. Which is also something to think about, at least in my point of view. Oh, we're actually having something to go. I'm a little bit slow today, I think. But in the last 8 weeks, I've also increased my passive income by 20%, bought my dream house, meditated twice per day for 20 minutes per session without fail. This marks the first time I've been able to meditate constantly. I've cut my caffeine intake to next to nothing. In the last 4 weeks, I usually pour tea, which is P-U-E-R-H-N-T. In the morning and green tea in the afternoon. I've had no more than 1 cup of coffee per week. More on this in a later post. With your help, raised $100,000, and there's even more. Realize once again that manic depressive symptoms are just part of entrepreneurship. Come to feel closer to all my immediate family members. Yes, and so on. Like there's a few things that I've didn't think about and didn't. Added roughly 20 pounds of muscle after learning the pain and joy of high rep front squats and topical DHEA, courtesy of Patrick Arnold. 20 pounds in 8 weeks, 2 months. This is quite something, I have to say. Personally, I suck at efficiency, doing things quickly. Or he says that efficiency is doing things quickly. Here's my coping mechanism and 8-step process for maximizing efficiency, doing the right things. Which is actually doing the right things. The first one is wake up at least 1 hour before you have to be at your computer screen. Email is the mind killer. The second thing is make a cup of tea. I like pour error. It's probably pronounced incorrectly, I'm sorry. And sit down with a pencil or pen and paper. Write down the 3 to 5 things and no more that are making you most anxious or uncomfortable. There are often things that have been punted from one day's to-do list to the next, and also to the next, and so on. Most important, usually most uncomfortable with some chance of rejection or conflict. So these things that you're going to write down are probably going to be the most important things. Then for each item, ask yourself, if this were the only thing I accomplished today, would I be satisfied with my day? Then, will moving this forward make all the other to-dos unimportant or easier to knock off later? The fifth one is, look only at the items you've answered yes to for at least one of these questions. And these are the things that you're going to do. These are the things that you're going to make, because these are the things that matter to you and matter for you and are important in your life. Block out at least 2 to 3 hours for focus on one of them for today. Let the rest of the urgent but less important stuff slide. It will still be there tomorrow. I don't know. I do just like to also just add some simple stuff, some things that are not that important, because I do just like to get ahead. This is what I do. It's not necessarily what you should also be doing, but this is something that I do. The 7th point is, to be clear, block out, which is the point that I was talking about before, like it should be 2 to 3 hours, which is not going to be 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes of that, and 10 minutes here and there. It's going to be 2 to 3 consecutive hours. That's it. And the 8th and last one is, if you get distracted or start procrastinating, don't freak out and downward spiral. Just gently come back to your one to do. And it is important to say that this is a one to do. It's not 2 things, it's not 3 things, it's not 4 things. It doesn't take much to seem superhuman and appear successful to nearly everyone around you. In fact, you just need one rule. What you do is more important than how you do everything else. and doing something well does not make it important. Yes, not necessarily. And I think it is also something that we have to see when we are just thinking about things and doing things and thinking about the things that we are doing. Being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. Being busy is most often used as a generous or guise for avoiding the few critically important but uncomfortable actions, which is like very important. And he said that you should note that down if you tend to, forget about it maybe. Hence, men live such advantages as these with reluctance. They love the reward of their hardships, but curse the hardships themselves. Men complain about, and by men I also mean just people in general, because it's an old text. It is a Stoic text by Seneca, or it is from the letters of Seneca to Lucilius, just to let you know. Men complain about their ambitions as they complain about their mistresses. In other words, if you penetrate their real feelings, you will find not hatred, but bickering. Search the minds of those who cry down what they have desired, who talk about escaping from things which they are unable to do without. You will comprehend that they are lingering of their own free will in a situation which they declare they find it hard and wretched to endure. It is so, my dear Lucilius, there are a few men whom slavery holds fast, but there are many more who hold fast to slavery. If, however, you intend to be rid of this slavery, if freedom is generally pleasing in your eyes, and if you seek counsel for this on purpose, and this is it. Why didn't I actually go further on with this? Might be looking this up. Men do not care how nobly they live, but only how long, although it is within the reach of every man to live nobly, but within no man's power to live long. Or at least to just somehow do something about it, I guess. The default mode of type A entrepreneurs is to do more. Whatever it happens to be, do more. Ferriss tells CNBC, if I have a problem, do more, and if I'm feeling stressed out, do more. And while it might seem logical to increase output, indiscriminate activity is a form of laziness, he says. On a superficial level, being busy is a satisfying substitute for doing important work. It is very easy to confuse activity with productivity, says Ferriss. If you don't feel like you have time, you don't have priorities, he says. This is what I've just first of all been talking about. Like, it is all about priorities. It's all about your preferences. It's not really about time. Pushing back against the culture of busyness worship isn't easy though. Being busy is often seen as a perverse badge of honor, says Ferriss. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss summary notes and blah 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 blah. Being busy is a form of laziness or lack of control over one's life. Yes. Which is like the initial thing that I've seen which led me to talking about Tim Ferriss and his productivity tips. But I do want to really quickly have a look at the paper. I hope that I'm gonna find it. Looks not that good. Probably gonna find it in my history. My history is full of things that I've gone through today. It's probably gonna be this one. Yeah, it is this one. And that should also be my highlight. Yes, it is. That you may have the good fortune to accomplish this purpose without perpetual annoyance, how can the whole company of Stoic thinkers fail to approve your course? And this is quite it. Like, I do think there is something in it. I haven't quite been able to decipher it. Some sort of. I've actually also highlighted something else. Oh, I see. But well, yeah, I do hope that if you liked the episode, I might have been a little bit too fast from time to time. I could have been a little bit more just... Maybe the next time I should even compress it more. I do think it's not necessary to have so much. One page might be enough, might be sufficient, might be good, I guess. 20% of what... Or the 20% that makes 80% of the things that you want to have. This is, I think, what makes sense, kind of. But yeah, I wish you the best health, happiness, and all success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy and basically means just being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are, Why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, which is great. I'm going to hopefully see you the next time. Maybe consider subscribing to the podcast. I would at least appreciate that. And I'm going to see you the next time, I at least hope. So I'll see you.